Lewis runs over the new guidelines in his head. No rules are being broken. They just need to remember to maintain a big enough distance. His palms are slightly sweaty against the steering wheel, but thankfully the longer he drives, the more the excitement takes over. As he pulls into the familiar car park, he is buzzing with anticipation. For the first time in 2 months, Jess is going to be within touching distance. He's going to be able to actually smell her perfume. A big smile stretches across his face as the sun shines brightly. He parks up quickly and grabs his bag. He can't stop himself from jogging to their meeting point. The park is pretty empty. There are a couple of families out for a stroll and the odd runner enjoying the fresh air. He'd gotten used to not seeing many people around. It is now both strange and completely normal. As he rounds the fountain, Lewis spots her. She's standing next to 3 empty benches, hands firmly placed in her pockets, curly black hair that almost adds an extra foot to her height, light brown eyes like molten caramel, and a mask where her bright, joyful smile should be. And when she spots him, the corners of her eyes crease with happiness. Lewis takes a couple more steps forward, and Jess takes a couple of steps backward. A sad smile crosses her face. 2-metre, sweetheart. Lewis sighs. I know, I just got excited, but if you could back up a little, I can put these, he presents the flowers to her, in the middle, and then you can pick them up. Jess's expression softens as she walks backwards a few more paces. Lewis places the flowers down carefully and then moves back so she can go and pick them up. They're lovely, Jess says hesitantly, an eyebrow raised questioningly as she looks at the wilted and somewhat crispy flowers she has been given. Lewis scratches the back of his head looking at the sky. Well, you see, I was worried about contamination, so I sprayed them with disinfectant. Jess burst out laughing, snorting loudly. She slaps a hand over her mask, as if trying to force the snort back in. The tips of her ears turn red like they always do when she laughs, and he finds himself laughing along with her. It is so nice to hear her voice without the crackle of dodgy internet, and although he can't see her smile, he knows it's there. Jess sits on the bench closest to her. Lewis looks at the empty spot beside her. It is so tempting. No one would know they're from 2 separate households. He sighs and begrudgingly sits on the bench closest to him, leaving a whole bench in the middle. The bright yellow tape that crosses it reminds him how important it is to follow the rules. He can at least see her in person now. That itself is a blessing. And then the rain starts. Lewis glares up at the sky, as if it would stop the sudden downpour. We don't have to go, I brought an umbrella, he calls. I didn't, Jess says, just loud enough for him to hear. Well, that's okay, we can just share, Lewis says, as he begins rummaging through his backpack. Unless your umbrella is over 6 foot, I don't think we can, Jess tries to joke. Lewis triumphantly pulls out the small umbrella, then stares at it, betrayed. Oh. Right. It's okay. We can do this again. She forces a smile on her face, but then it falls as she realises it doesn't matter. Beneath her mask, her bottom lip begins to quiver slightly. The rain gets heavier. Jess holds the dead flowers over her head, trying to keep herself at least a little dry. The raindrops bounce off the plastic wrap and dribble down the sides onto her shoulders. Puddles are popping up all around them, and the park is quickly becoming waterlogged. Yeah, lockdown can't last much longer, Lewis says, as a water droplet rolls down his nose. Whether Jess's face is wet just because of the rain, it is hard to tell from where he stands. His feet itch to close the space between them and wrap her in his arms just for a moment. But he can't. See you soon. Yeah, soon. She takes a deep breath and turns to leave, her shoulders shaking. I love you! Lewis shouts, still sitting on his bench, soaked from head to toe. Jess pauses. I love you too, she says without turning around, tears rolling down her cheeks as she begins the long, wet walk back to the car.